And so it turns out that the hemoglobin A1C test checks for glucose that is stuck to either a valine or lysine, which is an amino acid that make up proteins. That's exactly what the hemoglobin A1C checks for. So if you're ingesting lots of fructose, either from fruit or from honey, and obviously I'm including high fructose corn syrup, all the highly processed junk that contains sucrose or added fructose, all this stuff is full of fructose. And it is glycating the hell out of not only your proteins, but remember I said earlier, your lipids as well. The hemoglobin A1C only checks for glucose glycation. It cannot see fructose glycation or galactose glycation, and it also cannot see glycation that happens to your lipids, to the fat molecules in your cells. So when the fructose concentration gets high enough in your portal vein or in your systemic circulation, you are glycating the hell out of your cells and tissues and the proteins and the lipids with fructose. But the hemoglobin A1C test is blind to this, and there is currently no test that your doctor can order that looks for fructose glycation. There just is no test. Now there is an amino assay where they can actually check for fructose adhering to proteins, but it would probably cost you hundreds, if not thousands of dollars to have that done, and you'd have to go to a research lab to have it done. Now, after I got over the shame of discovering my island of ignorance, it occurred to me, I bet a lot of other doctors and healthcare providers have this same island of ignorance. They just assume that the hemoglobin A1C test checks for any glycation, not just glycation caused by glucose. And also I wanted to verify, is this really true? Have Bart K and I stumbled upon something this basic, this fundamental, that's missing a huge amount of glycation in the people who watch videos on YouTube, and that the hemoglobin A1C test is blind to? Is this really true? And so this one research study where they actually did the research that validated the hemoglobin A1C test, it explains how they did it, but I still was not convinced. And so I actually emailed one of the researchers and said, hey, does the hemoglobin A1C test, does it also check for glycation caused by fructose? And here's his reply. He says, hey Ken, thanks for your question. Diazyme's enzymatic hemoglobin A1C assay measures the amount of glycated valine at the N-terminal of beta chain of hemoglobin. The enzyme used in the assay has a much higher specificity and reactivity towards a ketamine group formed between glucose and valine compared with other sugars formed with other amino acid. Hope this answers your question. Best regards, Chong. And the deeper I dug into this, I found another research study, which is listed down in the show notes below with all the other research that I used to make this video. And the researcher says the popular clinical methods used for glucose glycation do not detect the Hans product or other fructose-mediated adducts. This has compromised research on the potential role of fructose glycation in the pathogenesis of chronic disease in humans. And I found this statement in another study. Fructose has not been a main focus of glycation research because of the difficulty in measuring its adducts. And more importantly, because although it is 10 times more reactive, aka glycating, than glucose, its plasma concentration is only around 1% of that of glucose, unless you're eating a diet filled with fruits and honey. So my friends, I have to give you this stern advice. You cannot use the hemoglobin A1C test as a marker for global glycation. It only checks for glucose glycation. It does not see any glycation that happens even from glucose with regards to lipids in your bloodstream. It also is completely blind to any glycation caused by fructose, the sugar in fruit, or galactose, the sugar in milk. Now, let me ask a favor of you. If you know someone who's eating a diet full of fruit and honey, please consider sharing this video with them, because I promise you they have no idea that they are causing rampant glycation to every cell, every protein, every lipid, every tissue in their body. And they really need to know this because it's very important to their overall health and to their longevity.